call the meeting to order for the September 30th full board for the district. So starting off the evening with the agenda. Hopefully everybody has had time to review the packet that was sent out last week. Any items to add or change to the agenda? Hearing none. Sarah, do we have any public on the call?
We do have members of the public. If there is anyone from the public who wishes to speak on an item that is not on the agenda, if you could please use the, either raise your hand or somehow indicate to the chair that you would like to speak.
I see a hand raised for a phone number 9094. Do you know how to unmute yourself? Sarah, John, can you offer some guidance?
9094, I'm not.
That's Burlington Public Works phone number.
Okay. All right. Maybe
That may just be staff. We have no public comment at this time.
okay. All right. All right. Moving on to the consent agenda. Are there any items that commissioners would like to remove from the consent agenda for further discussion? All right, hearing none, we will accept the consent agenda and adopt it as is. That allows us to move quickly into our first presentation on the Burlington MOU from Flynn Avenue with DPW Director Spencer. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure, really. And you all run an efficient meeting. I'm impressed. Thanks so much for having me, Chair Bryn and the rest of the commission. It's good to be back in front of you, even on this side of the table. I'm Chapin Spencer, Director of Public Works, and I'm joined tonight with City Engineer Norm Baldwin and Senior Engineer Susan Malzahn, as well as our esteemed CSWD Board Rep Lee Perry. I'm keenly aware your business has changed in the last several months, as ours has as well, and I really appreciate you taking a few moments of your meeting. So we will be expeditious. Why are we here to give the CSWD board a presentation on the Champlain Parkway? That's a good question. The answer is that last year our two entities signed an MOU that extended an option for the purchase of 195 to 201 Flynn Avenue, a parcel that currently CSWD owns, for the purposes of hosting a modern drop-off center for the district. And that MOU required this update to be provided to your board prior to your board's consideration of a one-year extension of the option. So tonight, the city is formally requesting the board grant a one-year option extension. And we firmly believe that a modern drop-off center at 195 and 201 Flynn is the right project. Yet, due to a number of key reasons we'll go over, we don't believe it's quite the right time to advance. The CSWD and the city share a goal to get a drop-off center at this location, and the city wants the process to be smooth and welcomed by our community. As you all may know, the South End residential area near this proposed drop-off center has struggled with commercial traffic for a long time. For some long-term commercial uses, such as the Global Tank Farm, which to my understanding is the largest fuel distribution center in the state of Vermont, and some newer uses such as City Market and the proposed higher ground facility. I think there are three truths in front of us. Number one, CSWD drop-off center at this location on Flynn Avenue is a far better project for the South End neighborhood, and I would submit for CSWD with the Champlain Parkway, either constructed or under construction. Number two, the city has made demonstrable progress on this project over the last year, and we have a proposed schedule to get this project out to bid this winter. Third, the city has paid $66,000 more or less in option payments to date over the last 4 years. And we're prepared to make another $16,000 payment for this additional year, demonstrating the city's very real commitment while providing significant financial benefits to CSWD. So for these 3 reasons, I believe extending the option another year is clearly the right decision for both parties. Without further ado, here's the 9-slide presentation on the Champlain Parkway, and we're happy to answer any questions. Susan, why don't you hit it? We're going to share our screen.
Thank you. And if whoever's the host could enable screen sharing, or if you are able to share.
Sarah, I think you can.
Do you have access now, or?
Yes, thank you. So we just have a quick update and overview of the Champlain Parkway project. Here is a map of the project area. Towards the left is the south end with Interstate 189, and the yellow is the proposed Champlain Parkway route coming through the south end through Home Avenue, Flynn Avenue, Lakeside Avenue, connecting to the existing street network, Lakeside Avenue, and then continuing north up Pine Street all the way downtown to the intersection with Main Street. This project has several goals: improving access from 189 to the city center district and downtown waterfront area, improve circulation, mobility, safety on local streets throughout the project's study area, provide traffic relief in the southwestern quadrant of the city, reduce the disruption to local neighborhoods and separate the local traffic from through traffic, and to reduce the truck traffic on the local street network. In the south end, this is the southern end of the project. So as you can see, coming in from 189, new roadway to Home Avenue and through the south end to Flynn Avenue. This new road will be a 25-mile-an-hour city street. It has improvements to the stormwater system, as well as improvements to the highway rail grade crossing at Home Ave, Flynn Ave, Sears Lane, Maple Street, and King Street crossings. On the map, we've highlighted for you the 195-201 Flynn Ave property, as well as the new South End City Market and the global fueling facility that Chapin has mentioned. So you can see the Champlain Parkway provides a great connection and will eliminate some of the traffic right now that's filtered through the residential areas. This is a picture of the southwest corner of Flynn Ave and the Champlain Parkway, right near the new city market. So this project will have new traffic signals at Home Ave, Flynn Ave, and Sears Lane. It will be 2 lanes of traffic with left turn lanes at the intersections that are able to accommodate vehicles and larger trucks. Over the last few years, we've had several major milestones in progressing this project. In 2019, we signed utility agreements with the various utilities and telecommunications companies impacted by the project. We obtained the right-of-way certification. We have a corrective action plan approved by the DEC. And we executed a cooperative agreement with the state of Vermont, which secures the funding for the final construction of the project. We also awarded a contract to our construction inspector that will help us throughout the construction of the project. We've obtained the final railroad agreement with VRS, and more recently in July, we held a public hearing for this project. So our next steps, we have a few more things before we can break ground on construction. We are currently finalizing the contract plans and bid documents. We're resolving ongoing litigation. We are working on the issuance of a limited scope supplemental environmental impact statement, and on the record of decision, all of which is part of the federal highway NEPA process. We'll then receive approvals from Federal Highway and VTrans to bid the construction contract, followed by the award of the contract and construction beginning, which is anticipated for spring of 2021. We also have a new updated project website, ChamplainParkway.com, which has the project map, as well as much more information, as well as animations about the project if you'd like to learn more about it and stay updated on the latest happenings. And more ways to reach out to us and more directly to the project team at the email, hotline, and again, our website.
Thank you, Susan. So we're excited by this opportunity to extend one more year. As you've seen, the timeline indicates that we're expecting to have this project out to bid in several months, which will create a dramatically different environment in which CSWD could approach permitting a drop-off center in the South End and have a much easier time working with residents in that neighborhood, understanding that truck traffic would not have to travel through residential streets to access the drop-off center. Thank you.
Any questions from commissioners? Paul, do you want to go first?
Sure, why not?
You're the first hand I saw.
How much communication has there been with local residents regarding the possibility of siting a drop-off center, and what kind of reaction are you getting to that possibility?
Sure. We have certainly talked with the local councilors in that area and have talked with some key stakeholders. It's mostly been with the councilors who are in direct communication with the residents themselves, and they have been fully briefed. We did brief the City Council's Transportation, Energy, and Utilities Committee at their last meeting, which is 3 additional councilors who don't live in the South End. And even among those councilors, they passed a motion supporting this direction.
Okay, thank you, Chapin.
Yeah.
Sorry, Chapin, for clarification, I'm sorry, that was the TUC passed the resolution, okay, but not the full council, but the TUC did, okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Al.
Chapin, I sure hope that the City of Burlington works as a co-applicant for any permits with respect to, the district moving forward with the project.
That's a great point, Alan. And the answer is we want to be full partners with you. We think that it will be a much smoother development review process if there is a way for commercial traffic and the bulk of the drop-off center traffic to happen in a way that doesn't go through neighborhoods. We think you'll have a much more pleasant experience, and I will have a much more pleasant experience.
Thank you.
Other questions from commissioners? I can only see the people who have their cameras on. So if there's anybody without their camera on, you'll have to either raise your hand or unmute yourself. Hearing none, I'll ask a couple of my own questions. So it sounds like construction is anticipated to begin in the spring of 2021. When is it anticipated to be complete?
Norm, Susan, you want to take that?
It's anticipated to be somewhere slightly over a 2-year process for construction.
So the request is for a 1-year optional extension, but it could be as much as 2 to 3 year extension ultimately. Is that okay to interpret?
My understanding, the way the MOU was written, that was agreed to by both CSWD and by the City of Burlington, that was executed last November, was a 1-year option with an option to renew for an additional year. We are seeking that 1-year addition, as that we believe will get us through to the start of construction. Once construction is started, the neighborhood will much more clearly understand that the project is happening and be able to discuss the permitting of a drop-off center, knowing that the parkway will be in place. So we don't need to wait a full 2 years to start the drop-off center permitting. The neighborhood just needs to have a high degree of confidence that the project is happening on a schedule that they can know. Okay.
All right. And then from the point of initiating permitting, is your impression that we would wait until the parkway is complete before the DOC is constructed and operational?
I think that's up to us to discuss between teams. We haven't gotten to that level of detail. I think if the parkway is under construction and there is a couple month overlap of the drop-off center being open without the parkway, we can have that conversation and discuss what we want to do. But I think optimally the goal here is to have the parkway available for the drop-off center.
Okay.
Yeah, Brent, I think we would want to have an internal, both teams, the city and CSWD, an internal engineering conversation, just in construction project management conversation, just to understand our timeline better, or the potential timeline better. So if the board does agree to another extension, then that would signal to our team to be making much closer contact, say in probably 6 months or so, as the construction process begins to be much more clear for the city, to then say, okay, well, where are you putting us on your timeline as far as what things can happen in together at the same time, what things have to go in progression, and then we'd be able to come back to the board and say, this is what looks like to be a reasonable timeline. Should the board then decide we want to invest in a new drop-off center at that location? So then we can begin, well, what would it cost us? And we can start to do our cost estimating at that point.
Okay. Thanks for the clarification. Both Chapin and Sarah. That helps quite a bit. I don't think I have any further questions given that.
Lee had a question?
Yeah, I just have a quick question on, I know drop-off sites vary, construction varies on them, but what is the typical timeline to build one of these modern facilities?
Yeah, so actually Josh Tyler is on, if you could unmute, and we can speak obviously very clearly to Heinsberg. However, Heinsberg was a bit interrupted, as we know, by COVID. So Josh, for the size that we would be looking at, given perfect parameters, what might you think?
I would say if we could start in the spring, 3 to 4 months, to be honest, because we would probably build the same infrastructure. We just have more pavement. The services we provide would have kind of the same structures that you see at Heinsberg, tip wall, special waste building, those sorts of things. But there would be more area. So it would just be more paving, a little more earthwork. But if we could start in the spring and not the late fall and didn't have a global pandemic, I'd feel confident, 3 to 4 months once we, break ground.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Paul Stabler?
Just comment, I mean, I gotta believe with permitting and design and all, it's at least a year from the time both entities agree we're gonna go forward to any actual, facility being there.
Yes, that's a good point. So Josh was referring to kind of the on-the-ground construction timeline, probably not more than 4 months, but Paul's right, that all the permitting and all that involves is much longer generally than the actual construction of something like this, which is why it would be important to connect early or about midway through the next renewal of the MOU to make sure that we have a very clear understanding of the city's.
Other questions? I think it would be good to just get a status update on the project in the spring, when you break ground, essentially, when you start construction, just to gauge how that timeline's going and project progress. Sarah, is there an action item on this?
There is not. This was the informational piece, and the thought was to bring back the MOU document next month for a vote.
Okay. All right, I think we are okay to move on. Thank you so much for the presentation, Chapin, and Norm and Susan for joining us tonight.
We
Thank you
really
for having us.
appreciate the time.
Thanks, Jacob.
Thank you very much, guys.
See you
Thanks
guys.
all.
And I believe we have next on the agenda, the depackaging facility presentation from Mike Casella.
Yep, that's right. So we have Mike Casella. I saw Trevor Mance as well, and I think there may have been someone else, possibly from Casella. Mike, I think you are possibly unmuted, looks like.
I'm here, Sarah. Can you hear me?
Great, yes. Yep.
All right. I can certainly kick us off, and Mike will jump in when necessary.
Trevor, do you
Am I-
want to advance the slides or see if you can?
You can do that for me, Sarah?
I can, hang on.
You are the best. Thank you. I have not done a Zoom PowerPoint presentation yet, so thank you.
You got it. Let me bring this up for you. Okay.
So guys, I want to introduce myself. I actually know some of you, which is kind of exciting to see. Nice to see you, Bryn. My background is in composting. I was a former owner of a compost facility down in Bennington. Joined the Casella team. And why I know some folks is being on the infrastructure committee for the implementation of Act 148. And really my passion is in food waste recovery, which I'm lucky to be in that role for Casella Waste now. So my official title is Project Manager for Food Waste Recovery. And with that being said, I'd like to jump in, and any presentation I like to give, I think it's always important, and albeit maybe a little bit redundant, but it's nice to know who we're talking about and a little history. So that's my quick history, but Casella's quick history here. We were founded in Rutland in 1975 with one truck. Still headquartered in Rutland to this day. 2,500 employees with over 200,000 commercial customers and over 500,000 households. Casella operates the Long Trail Compost Facility, which is my former TIM Organics facility in Bennington. Hawk Ridge Compost Facility in Maine. We actually have another facility, Grasslands, which I forgot to put on, up in northern New York. We do have an interstake in anaerobic digestion facilities in New England. And as I'm sure you all are aware, the CSWD MRF for the last 24 years. So we appreciate that business. Thank you. We're vertically integrated collection, transfer, and recycling and anaerobic digestion. And we provide resource management services to 10,000 business locations all over the country. And in doing so, we recover 800,000 tons of recycling and over 450,000 tons of organics. And since 2005, as a company, we're really proud that we've cut our carbon emissions by over 50%. So if you could go to the next one, Sarah. Thank you. So my goal today, and Mike will certainly participate in kind of getting this out there, but we wanted to share with you this project. we've been working hard at it, and we recognize that maybe we haven't gotten this message out to the entire board or all of the folks at CSWD. So we're excited to do that. We're not really asking for anything. We are here to kind of present to as kind of a FYI, keep everybody understanding where we're headed. The background, with the onset of the universal recycling law, we wanted to plan and develop a facility that would help Vermont sustainability goals as well as our own. We look to keep the carbon footprint as low as possible. So doing so, we wanted to site a facility that would offer depackaging services within Vermont, and more so within our most dense area. And even more so at the transfer station allows us to keep the trucking to an absolute minimum. So that's the proximity to the transfer station, and also the digester outlets is another thing that we look at. Again, tying into that idea that since 2005, we're proud of the fact that we've reduced our carbon emissions so much. With this depackaging machine, we will need water. Our plan for water is to backhaul gray water from the digester to help mix with the food waste to create the slurry. It's a nice closed loop system on that. Economic sustainability. We feel strongly that to ensure long-term economic viability, the facility is designed to handle growing volumes as needed. Put in a different way, this is an expandable project. It is to put it in probably not as polished of a term, it's a walk before you run type facility where we have spec'd the equipment to handle much more than we have expected to take in the beginning. But we know that we never want to replace the equipment or the hard structure. So that's all designed to handle much more. You'll probably see some high tonnage numbers in a second here, and think it's probably ambitious, and we hope to achieve it. So it's currently 6,000 square feet. It's got plenty of land to expand as the market conditions allow. And the system that we're using is this Megathor T42. I still love saying that, Megathor. It seems like so exciting. And it can handle up to 160 tons per 8-hour shift. It's actually like a 25 ton per hour machine, but you don't run it for the full 8 hours. So, next slide, please. So these are the state-of-the-art solutions that the market needs at this point. Act 148's been great. We all have risen to the occasion. Those that sat with me on the Act 148's infrastructure committee remember the lofty number of $44 million of money that was going to be needed to implement it. And here we are, and so much private and public monies have gone into this. I think we should all pat ourselves on the back because CSWD has certainly invested. And I'm proud to be working for Casella, who has also stepped up in this challenge here. So we've got a track record of state-of-the-art environmental technology. We propose this facility.
We pause while we
diagnose the problem.
Fuck up, bro.
Yeah.
All right, Timmy. All right, Timmy.
Is there
Timmy!
John?
Timmy!
Yeah, phone.
Hello, Timmy, I'm trying to fucking fuck you, bro.
Hello. I just have a quick question about your hypothesis.
Timmy.
I'm
Timmy.